6 months since the deadly Los Angeles wildfires, at least 29 people were killed and more than 16,000 structures destroyed. In the Pacific Palisades neighborhood, the cleanup process continues, but people are hopeful about returning home and rebuilding. Steve Futterman brings us that story.
6 months later, you can still see the destruction here. I'm in Pacific Palisades, just off of Sunset Boulevard, an area known as the Alphabet Streets. The streets here are in alphabetical order. They are named after church leaders from a century ago, but from A to Z, not much is left. Now let's take a look back at 6 months ago tonight, January 7th. Much of this area was on fire. Many parts of Los Angeles were on fire. We can see pictures from the ground and from the air, people desperate to escape. Now today on the streets here in Pacific Palisades, most of the lots have been cleared. Some lots still have debris. You can see on a workday, heavy equipment coming in to start rebuilding, and in a very few locations, there are actually signs of people beginning to rebuild, getting ready to move back into their homes. Now across town in Altadena, that was the other area hardest hit. The situation is much the same. We talked to two homeowners who lost their homes in Pacific Palisades and Altadena.
I was, trying to put out little spot fires from embers on both my property and my neighbors' adjacent properties. But eventually, some of the properties that didn't have, I'll say, good vegetation control, they went up, and then it just leapt from house to house. And so it got to a point that there was nothing I could do. It got so hot I couldn't stay there any longer. So I went ahead and had to abandon it. And unfortunately, my house burned about 15 minutes after that.
We're fairly optimistic because we had good insurance, and we're intending to rebuild. We already have an architect and plans getting drawn up. So hopefully by the end of the year, there will be something going up in this lot here.
Now, for those lucky enough to have their homes survive the fire, they face other problems. There's smoke damage. There are lots of toxins in these homes. And we spoke to some people who say they have what's a bit known as survivor's guilt. They wonder why their home survived, but their next door neighbors didn't. Now, we spoke to a contractor and asked him, when might this area of Pacific Palisades or Altadena, when might these areas be completely rebuilt? He said it's going to take a long time.
I think this is probably going to be a 10 to 20 year rebuilding process to rebuild the whole city. But people just don't move quickly. They have insurance restraints, and then of course there's difficulty with the county.
It has obviously been a very challenging 6 months for the people who once lived here. Most of the people we've spoken with say they plan to return, they are going to rebuild, but we also spoke with a number of people. These are people usually in their 60s and 70s who say they will never come back. Steve Futterman for CBC News, Pacific Palisades, California.